Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're gonna do something easy and simple. The granddaddy of maintenance. We're doing an oil change. So first thing first, oil change are easy. There's a simple thing you can do at home. It doesn't take much to do. You don't need much tools. You just need the right information. So number one, what you're gonna need, obviously you're gonna need your oil and your oil filter. You can look that up online. You can get a service manual for your bike. They're pretty cheap, easy to get. All that information is going to be in there. I would recommend that anyways if you guys are trying to do more work on your bike by yourself. Get a service manual. A cheap one starts 30-40 bucks, an OEM one usually up to $100. But there's so much information in there that's going to make life so much easier for whatever you guys are trying to do on your bike. So first things first, you need to figure out what type of oil, the quantity, and what oil filter. So once you got all this, then you can start doing your oil change. So today I'm doing an oil change on the Tenere. It's about time to do it. It's a simple bike to do it, so I thought it's going to be an easy bike to show you guys how easy this job is. So let's get going. So the Tenere and most of your ADV bikes, they have bash plates, skid plates, engine protectors, whatever you want to call it. On this application, I need to take this off in order to get to my oil drain plug and to my oil filter. So this bike has 4 8mm bolts I'm going to take out, and I'm just going to lower that bash real quick. Alright, so with my bash plate out of the way, now I have access to the oil filter and the drain plug. And I'm going to show you where this sits on this particular bike. So as you can see, up here is the oil filter. That's now very nicely easy accessible. And down here is the oil drain plug. Also very nice and easy. I mean, they're all together, they're all up front. This is really one of the easier bikes to do. So this was a great bike to show you guys. So one thing you want to do before you drain your oil, you want to warm up the motor. You can do that in 2 ways. One is just go for a ride, 10-15 minutes, go for a quick joyride. Put it back in. You want the motor hot, so the oil is nice, hot and liquid, so you get all of this old oil out. Option number 2 is just let it run at idle for 10 minutes, just let the motor get nice and hot. But you need to do that. If not, you won't get all the oil out of it. So that's an important step. Don't skip that. So as you can see, this K&N filter has an adapter for a wrench or socket. So this makes it very, very easy. So this is going to be easy to take that filter off. I'm going to get it off real quick and start draining the oil. So changing your oil is a messy job. Always have some shop wax on hand. Trust me, you're gonna need it. So you guys can see now we're letting everything out. I'm gonna give it a minute and make sure all the oil comes out, and I hope that my pan is big enough. If not, it's gonna be a big mess. So the next thing is your drain plug. This is what your drain plug usually looks like, and I hope you can see that on here is a crush washer. So the washer is like a seal. When you tighten down the bolt into the plug, it crushes that washer and seals it from leaking oil. You want to replace that every time you do change the oil. I mean, you can get away usually 1 or 2 times, but the ideal way is always to replace it. So your crush washer, you can order it online or just go to the auto store and get one. I happen to have one of these kits from Harbor Freight. There are different sizes in there. Since I do multiple bikes, different stuff, I need different sizes. I was just lucky that I had the right size in here. So I'm going to pry this one off and I'm going to replace it with a nice new one. So this is the old one, this is the new one. New one on, perfect. And now we can go back in here. So the next thing is tightening up your drain plug. If you do have a manual, the manual is going to tell you so much Newton meter or foot-pound, and if you do have a torque wrench, you can do it the way it's supposed to be from factory. I do not have that. I'm just going to tie it up, and you do it a little bit by feel. So you want it tight enough so you don't lose it. It's going to seal, but you don't want to put a pipe on it or big extension and yank on it, because you probably will end up stripping the thread. And I see it sometimes at the shop. We do have to fix that. It's a pain in the butt. It's doable, but let's try to not do that. Oh, that's tight. So now we drained the oil, we took the filter out, we replaced the oil drain plug. Next is the oil filter. So if you do get a K&N filter, like I just took out, that has the adapter for wrench on it, that wrench adapter is only to take the filter off, not to put it on. Because once you put the filter on and the motor starts getting hot and everything, this gets really, really tight. If you use the wrench to tighten that filter onto the bike, chances are that you're going to have a miserable time getting that filter off. So the way you do it with the oil filter is you thread it on, hand tight, 1/4 turn, and leave it alone. You don't have to tie it super tight. As I said, these will get tighter as you go. So the next thing is this filter is already pre-lubed. Most filters are not. So before you put your new oil filter on, just dab your finger in the old oil and just loop that seal. You want that nice and looped up. When you put the filter on, when it sits against the housing, you want it nice and smooth to glide so you can tie it up. You don't want it to snag or anything. Another tip is, it happens rarely, but it does happen. When you take the old filter off, make sure that the ring doesn't stuck to the engine block. I've seen that, I can't say many times, but it does happen. Take the filter off, just toss the filter, put a new one on, put the oil in, fire the bike up, oil everywhere, big mess. Oh damn, what's going on? Well, take the filter off, you got 2 of those rubber seals, and these together don't seal. That you check that it's not on there. And then you loop your ring on the filter, and then you put that guy back on. One thing I do want to mention, depending who's watching this, some people might say that in the comments, you might talk to somebody, say that you need to fill the filter first with oil. You can do that. I never do. Most of your bikes, the filter sits in this location. So once you put oil in there and you try to put it into your block, that thing runs empty anyways. And your motor, I mean, even though you drained all the oil out of it, all the bearings are still looped. So once you put that in, you fire the bike up, the bike might run 4 or 5 seconds without oil pressure until oil gets everywhere, fills this guy up, and that's not a very big deal. Unless you do a motor rebuild, you know, where everything's brand new, and then you might be a bit more careful about that. But on just a regular oil change, don't worry about it. If you want, you can try. Some bikes, they have the filter literally sitting in this position, then it's easy. You just pour oil in it and thread it in and you're good. But as I said, when the filter sits like this, it's near impossible. Oh, there we go. So filters on, hand tight, and that's it. So next is, we're going to put oil in this bike. So the Tenere has its oil filler right on here. So I'll be using AMSOIL, very high synthetic, very high quality oil. Since this is a newer bike, I like to do this. So this bike calls for about 3 quarts. I'm going to pour 2.5 in, and then we fire it up and let it warm up, and then we see where the oil is going to be, if we need to add some or not. All right, I have 2.5 quarts in now. I'm about to start that bike. So here's what you need to do. You need to start up the bike and let the filter fill and let the motor fill, all the oil passages, everything, and then let it warm up a little bit, 2-3 minutes. And then you wait another 2 minutes, let everything settle, and then you check your oil. Depending on what motorcycle you have, there's going to be 2 different ways to check your oil. Some of them, they're going to have a dipstick on your filler plug. As you can see, this one doesn't. That means this has a window. It's a little round window, plastic window, that's going to show you the oil level. And I'm going to show you guys on this bike. Okay, I hope you can see this. This here is the oil window. It's a little bit hard to see because I got stuff in front. And there's a line. This is the lower line, and this is the upper line. Right now it shows too much because I have not started the bike yet. But once I started, this level will lower, and then we will check where it's going to be. All right, so I had the bike running, everything's full, and we're going to check now the oil level on the window to see what it shows us. As you can see, it shows nothing now on the window. That means I need to add more oil to it. And I'll be checking the window as I keep adding, since I do not want too much oil in the motor. Not enough is not good, too much is not good either. So you want it to be in the level between the 2 lines I showed you before. Or if you have a dipstick on it, it's going to have a mark like an O and a lower and an upper mark. All right, if you can see that, my oil level is right just on the upper mark, so it's perfect right there where it's supposed to be. And this, guys and girls, that's it. Simple as that. This is your basic, easy oil change. As I said, this way applies to 80% of the bikes out there. You might have an exotic sport bike that has the oil filter in a difficult location, or it might be an element filter. I'm going to show you a picture of that right here. And that's basically it. It's always the same. Drain the oil, change the filter, put new oil in, check your fluid, warm it up, make sure it got no leaks, and you're good to go. Always change your oil filter when you do an oil change. I have heard people saying, oh, you can reuse the oil filter 2 or 3 times. Don't do that. It's $10. Come on. It's like taking a shower and putting your dirty underwear back on, you know? I mean, no. If you have a motorcycle is an investment, you want it to be reliable, you want to ride it, you want to enjoy it, don't skip out on $10. So get your oil filter, get your crush washer for the drain plug, clean everything, lube it, just like that. So once you're done with your oil change, you can put the old oil back in the containers where the new oil came in, and you can take it back to the auto parts place or wherever and give it back to them, and they will dispose that for you. If not, if you don't have the opportunity, just put it back into these containers or a container and take it to your local waste management place, and usually they take the old oil in. Don't dump it nowhere, you know, that stuff, obviously it's bad for the environment, so we got to make sure that it's disposed correctly. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. And if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. Like always, was a pleasure. See you in the next one, and auf Wiedersehen.